Gure todazu. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite animes, and today I'm gonna be finally doing a review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Season 3, or in the manga, Part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable. So I'm going to be covering episodes 1 to 20 in this video because it's a very long series, so I gotta split it into two parts so that I can, get into the details. So yeah, let's go. It's been a while since I finished watching part 3, Stardust Crusaders, and ever since then I had been salivating for part 4 because of its high praise. So, to recap part 1, Phantom Blood, Jonathan Joestar was a rich boy from the UK who learned magical powers created by breathing called Hamon, and he had to defeat Dio, the evil immortal vampire. Except he's actually alive the whole time, and at the end of part 1 he wasn't actually dead. In part 2 Battle Tendency, Jonathan's grandson Joseph from New York had to defeat 4 ancient Aztec gods who created the stone mask that can turn people into immortal vampires. In part 3 Stardust Crusaders, Joseph's grandson Kujo Jotaro from Japan, Joseph himself, Kyakoin, Polnareff, Abdul, and Iggy, the dog, traveled around the world to defeat Dio, who somehow manifested a stand, which is basically a sort of entity that you can summon and do cool things with it. And in Dio's case, his stand is called the World Zawarudo, which is a stand that can make you stop time, which is very overpowered. Joseph's stand was Hermit Purple, which can create spirit photographs and grab stuff because his stand is basically a bunch of purple vines coming out of his hands. Jotaro's stand is easily the most overpowered because not only is it super fast and super strong and super precise, but Star Platinum is basically the world but stronger. Yeah. Now we have Higashikata Josuke in part 4. Apparently, Joseph cheated on his wife, Suzy Q, with Tomoko and gave birth to Josuke, who had a really cool resemblance to the 80s legendary singer Prince, because, hey, the guy who created JoJo, Hirohiko Araki, is actually a huge Prince fan. And he has an awesome looking hair. His stand is Crazy Diamond, and it is a very cool nod to the Pink Floyd song Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which is a song that I love. And Pink Floyd is a band that I'm already a huge fan of long before I learned about JoJo. So, hey, Culture Detective here. And Crazy Diamond. His stand is similar to Star Platinum, except he can't stop time, but he can heal people and sort of reform things, if that makes any sense. Like, he can break something and then reform it, either turning it back to its original appearance or to something completely different. So before I talk about Diamond is Unbreakable episode by episode, let's talk about the opening and the endings first. I love JoJo openings, and the opening of Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town is absolutely fantastic, and I don't care what anyone says. A lot of people think that this OP, Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town, is overrated. Well, I disagree. You know how I said I don't like it when, in an OP, in an anime OP, all the characters just pop onto the screen and just dance? Well, you know what? I take it back, because on this OP, they actually, truly, intentionally make all the characters pop onto the screen and dance. In a way, it's so colorful and vibrant, and the song is so fun and catchy. It adds a lot of personality to the town of Morio, which is basically where Josuke and everybody else lived. It's a really, really fun OP, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And also Koichi's pose. And then we have the ED, which is also easily my favorite ED in the entire series so far. It is a Savage Garden song, and the animation in the ED is really, really cool. I mean, the way we just sort of move forward and we see all the characters sort of pass by, and After each episode, the ED changes a bit, and it's just so... The animation style of part 4 is definitely different than its, predecessors, parts 1 to 3. There isn't much CGI in part 4, nor in later part 5, but it is way more colorful, and there are so much more details in the animation. It's really fantastic. The tone of the story is also slightly different because part 3 is basically an action adventure following a really simple formula that is the protagonist encounter a villain, defeat it, moving on, and that's sort of the the structure for each episode or each small storyline arc. But it's kind of different for Diamond is Unbreakable because in Diamond is Unbreakable Part 4, Araki dabbles into a slice of life genre. Instead of fighting in really epic arenas on the streets with huge epic brawls, we have a slice of life here, meaning that we're going to have fights in a house, in someone's backyard, maybe in some suburbs, in the school, in some restaurant, and it's more familiar to our daily lives. That's why I think part 4 is easily the best part of the series so far. I'm not counting part 7 or 8 yet. But yeah, a lot of these situations in part 4 is really relatable. In a way, I actually really enjoy it. And we also have the a new main character, a new main JoJo. Of course, part 1, Jonathan Joestar. Part 2, Joseph Joestar, which is still my favorite. Part 3, Kujo Jotaro, this edgy, stone-cold, stern-faced, buff guy. Total badass, but he's a bit of I wouldn't say he's a flat character, but he's definitely not as in-depth as I would have liked him to be. And then we have part 4, Higashikata Josuke, and he's basically Prince. He's extremely charismatic, he's extremely cool, he has the wits of Joseph Joestar, but he's still just as capable as Kujo Jotaro. He's a bit of both. And while I don't think Josuke is one of the most, memorable JoJo's of all times, I still think he works pretty well as the main character, as the main JoJo. So let's go over to episode 1, where Jotaro meets Josuke. Jotaro went to Morio, which is a town. By the way, it's fictional, so, sorry to burst your bubble, but the town doesn't really exist in real life. Anyways, he went to Morio to visit Josuke to tell him about Joseph, as well as the threat the town was facing, Angelo. Angelo was a serial killer as well as a rapist, a really nasty and disgusting person, and he was on to Josuke throughout episodes 1 and 2. Jotaro and Josuke had to work together and defeat him in his stand Aqua Necklace, which is actually a pretty lame stand where he can basically sneak into water, and when people drink that water or somehow consume that water, the stand can possess that person or straight up kill that person from within. But given that it's only the first 2 episodes, I kind of understand, you don't want to start off with like the most overpowered stand, right? I really love the scene where Jotaro and Josuke meet. That was a really, really fun scene. We also have a character of Hirose Koichi, who is a side character, who is small, tiny, pure, kind-hearted, and he's a pretty good side character as well. I root for him a lot. And right before Angelo's defeated, Angelo said that someone really scary and powerful gave him a stand by shooting him with an arrow, a special arrow, a stand arrow. The way he described him made him seem like he's the ultimate scary villain of the season, except he's immediately the next villain on the next episode. So that was quick. And on episode 3, Josuke stumbled upon that guy, whose name is actually Nijimura Keicho, as well as his brother, Nijimura Okuyasu, who will go on to be one of the most important side characters in Diamond is Unbreakable. And Okuyasu's stand is the hand Zahando, which can basically erase things. Yeah, his right hand can wave and it can erase things. This is very creative. This is a very creative stand. One thing I like part 4 more than part 3 is that the stands in part 4 are so much more creative. Like, who remembers Dark Blue Moon, you know? Who remembers Wheel of Fortune? Nobody remembers these stands because they are not really all that creative, not really all that special. But a lot of the stands in part 4 are very creative and very fun and entertaining to watch. Anyways, from episodes 3 to 5, these 3 consecutive episodes are about the Nijimura brothers, Okuyasu and Keicho, and it is revealed that Keicho is shooting people with stand arrows because he's trying to look for someone who has a powerful enough stand to kill their dad, because their dad was originally a minion of Dio's, and Dio planted a flesh bud onto the guy's head. And since Dio had died, the flesh bud sort of freaked out and consumed his dad, so now he's just a blob of immortal flesh. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into plot holes here, but you know, if the dad is completely consumed by Dio's cells, if you put him in sunlight, wouldn't he just burn away? But hey, anyways, episode 5 also marks the first appearance of a villain that is Red Hot Chili Pepper. We don't see the stand user, we just see the stand, Red Hot Chili Pepper. And his stand can basically go through electricity. Yeah, he can travel through electrical wires and cables, and he can appear and just kill you. And then we have episode 6, Echoes. Because I'm going into minor spoiler territory here, but basically on the previous episodes, Keicho actually shot Koichi with the stand arrow. He had the stand arrow, now Red Hot Chili Pepper has it, and Koichi was shot. And Crazy Diamond healed Koichi, so now Koichi manifested a stand himself as well. And his stand is Echoes. I actually forgot to mention what is the stand of Keicho Nijimura, and his stand is Bad Company. And essentially, Bad Company is an army of small toy soldiers, toy tanks, and toy helicopters. Just a small, mini-sized military. And I just thought that's a really hilarious stand. It can be powerful, but I think ultimately it's just kind of a funny stand. Anyways, episode 6, Koichi had Echoes, and Echoes is awesome. It is an absolutely amazing stand. Minor spoiler alert, it can evolve. It's a stand that can evolve and become more and more advanced. And echoes essentially make noise. Like, echoes can slap you in the arm and noise will come out of your arm, and it's going to be very annoying and disruptive. Echoes can also say slap the word bang on this wall, and then the second you touch it, boom, you're gonna just blast off. Or it can be used so creatively, it is awesome. So on episode 6, Koichi was scammed by a scam artist by the name of Kobayashi Tomami, whose stand is The Lock, where, now this is another really creative stand. If he makes you feel guilty, then there will be a lock on your chest. And the more guilty you get, the larger the lock will be. And the only way to stop the lock from growing or being there on your chest is to give the guy money. So yeah, but at the end, the fight, the the fight between Echoes and the Lock, it's really, really cool. It's a really cool and creative fight. The way Kobayashi had to forcefully make the people around him and Koichi's mother and his sister guilty, while at the same time Koichi tries to figure out how his stand works and how to use his stand. It's it's really creative and really entertaining. We have episode 7, Hazamada Toshikazu. And this person is a student in the school that Josuke and Koichi and Okuyasu are going to. And he also has a stand, and his stand is surface. Basically a wooden doll. If you touch that wooden doll, the wooden doll will become you and will act like you. And it's sort of like a voodoo doll. So if the wooden doll raises his right hand, and the wooden doll is imitating you, then you will raise your right hand involuntarily, which is pretty scary. Yeah, there are some suspenseful moments in this episode because Hazamada wanted to kill Jotaro, but of course Josuke defeated Surface by using his wits. He didn't even like punch the stand user or anything. He made someone else punch him. Yeah, the ending's really smart. Episodes 8 to 9 is Yamagishi Yukako falls in love. This girl, who actually, as far as the animation goes, she looks really friggin' cute, not gonna lie. Anyways, this girl fell in love with Koichi. And this girl is actually a yandere, which means she's crazy. And basically she would, because she loves Koichi, she would try to kidnap him, trap him in her house far away in the suburbs, and sort of force him to love her. And because Koichi failed an English test, Yukako would use very extreme measures to force Koichi to learn English, like answer this English quiz. If you fail this quiz, then you have to eat the English dictionary, basically. And there are so many worse things like the electric chair and stuff. And Yukako also has a stand, and her stand is basically her hair, her long hair. She can tangle you, she can strangle you, she can just attack you with her hair. And I don't know who's I don't know if anybody had mentioned this before, but it might actually be a really smart Junji Ito reference, because Junji Ito's Tomie, about a scary girl with scary long hair, is actually released like 5 years before Diamond is Unbreakable manga. Echoes Act 2. Echoes did evolve into Act 2, and it is just so, yes, it's so awesome. Such an awesome stand. And because Koichi wanted to make a phone call to call for help, call for Josuke and Okuyasu for help, but he of course he didn't have any coins. So what happened is that when Yukako was at the phone booth, he slapped the phone number on Yukako's arm. So Yukako would call Josuke by accident. That was such a smart moment. I was like, yes! And the twist at the end is really nice. The way Yukako becomes super aggressive and hostile, but Koichi, given that Koichi has a kind heart, Koichi still saved Yukako. That was actually really nice. Also, the OP for episodes 8 to 9 are EDM versions of Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town, which I don't think sounds better than the original, but it's still a pretty fun and creative addition. Episode 10, Let's Go Eat Italian Food. On this episode, it's like a filler episode, but a really good filler episode, because Josuke and Okuyasu went into this really weird Italian restaurant beside the cemetery, and the chef is Tonio. And there was no one in the restaurant, and there was no menu. Tonio just cooks whatever he wants. And we sort of don't know if Tonio is an enemy, a villain or not, because he keeps bringing good food, except he acts really strange. And of course, at the end, he turned out to be a good guy, which is really refreshing because, again, in Stardust Crusaders, almost everyone are bad guys. I mean, yeah, almost. But in Diamond is Unbreakable, even the bad guys can be good guys. And there was some really funny scenes. The scene where Okuyasu kept tearing up, it's not stopping, and that other scene where Josuke had to use his crazy diamond to punch a plate of spaghetti. That was quite bizarre. That was quite kimyo. Episodes 11 to 12 are the Red Hot Chili Pepper episodes, and while there were a lot of good fights on these two episodes, I can't say I'm too surprised by these two episodes. I mean, the fights are pretty typical, pretty predictable. The ending wasn't really all that smart either, but still not bad episodes, not at all. The motorcycle fight between Okuyasu and Red Hot Chili Pepper ended in a really smart way. The fight at the port between Josuke and Red Hot Chili Pepper and his stand user, who's a huge guitar maniac. Again, it just goes to show how much Araki loves classical music, classical rock music. Also, earlier on, when Yukako was trying to test Koichi's English, Yukako made like a Prince reference because, of course, it's Araki. Again, the ending wasn't really smart, and it was kind of confusing because Josuke wasted so much of his energy trying to defeat Red Hot Chili Pepper but failed. But Okuyasu didn't even use his stand. He just punched the guy and he just won, and that's it. That it's a little strange. But what I like about the episode is the return of Joseph. Joseph Joestar has returned, and he's an old man now. Whenever Joseph's on screen, I love it. And Joseph and Josuke's relationship is also a thing that Araki explored, and it's done really well because Josuke never really met his biological father, Joseph. So it was a more personal thing being explored. I'll say this though, when during the Red Hot Chili Pepper fight, I thought stands like Echoes or Star Platinum, the world would be able to do something, but at the end they didn't, and I guess I expected a little more. Anyways, episodes 13 to 15 are amazing episodes. Again, episode 13 is picking up something dangerous, where Josuke and Joseph picked up an invisible baby, and since they can't find the baby's family, they decided to adopt the baby. And again, Joseph, he's a really entertaining guy. Even though he's an old man, he's still a really entertaining guy. He's still smart. He can still use his hermit purple. And Joseph's voice actor, it's still the same voice actor from part 3, except he had to sound older. So his voice actor is actually really good at his job. And Joseph also did an "oh my god" on this episode, which is a really nice addition, really nice callback. The ending is, for some reason, really beautiful. Even though it's a filler episode, the ending was really beautiful. I'm going to give a minor spoiler alert, but basically the baby can turn invisible, and it fell into the water. And Josuke was like, wow, Joseph, I hate you. It's your fault. And Joseph jumped into the water and slit his arms so that he can turn the water red, so that the invisible baby can be revealed, which is really touching. And to add on, Joseph said, "No, I just want to act cool in front of you." Joseph, best JoJo. Basically, what I love about Joseph Joestar is that he's a really honorable person while at the same time really smart. Also, what I liked about this episode is that we see more bonding between Josuke and Joseph, which is really nice. And moving over, we have episodes 14 to 15. Let's go visit the manga artist's house, and these two episodes are probably the two best episodes of the entire part 4 so far, in my opinion. Basically, Koichi and Hazamada, I guess, Hazamada is not a bad guy now because after all, he's just a kid, he's just a teen. So Koichi and Hazamada, uh, they actually shared a common interest, and that is they are both fans of the manga artist Rohan Kishibe, and they ended up at Rohan's house because Hazamada overheard a conversation and learned about Rohan's address. So they ended up in Rohan's house and actually got to meet with the manga artist Rohan. And first of all, this very meta, given that Araki himself is a manga artist, duh, and him writing about a manga artist writing a story about a manga artist, very meta. And I also like the fact that Hazamada is a recurring character. I mean, he could have just disappeared instantly and never return ever again. But in order to make the story more cohesive, there are many characters recurring and appearing again, and I thought it just makes the overall flow so much more cohesive. And then we have Rohan Kishibe stand. Heaven's Door. Heaven's Door! Wow. Probably my favorite stand in the entire JoJo so far. I love Heaven's Door. And it's so damn cool. Like, he would say, Heaven's Door! And you would just turn into a book. You would turn into a book. Your face would turn into a book. It would open up and there would be pages and there would be words on it. And Rohan could use his pen and write words on it. Basically, he can program you. He can alter your program. He can write down, die in the next 5 seconds, and you will die in the next 5 seconds. I mean, it's so friggin' overpowered. Also, we have a new OP that is Chase, and you know what? Screw the haters. I love Chase. While the animation isn't the best, I mean, we have shots of Shigechi feeding birds and, just Josuke and Koichi chatting on the streets. Not really all that fancy. Other than one shot, though. That one shot where Ayatsuji was, like, putting her hand on, like, Yukako's chin. That shot was so godly. But yeah. The song is so catchy and it just jams really hard and has a bit of darkness to it, yet nostalgia. I just absolutely love it. And the scene where Koichi's trapped in Rohan's house and Rohan was about to destroy him by tearing off pages off of his face, and Koichi tried to call Josuke and Okuyasu for help, but Rohan wrote down, Koichi will not harm Rohan. So Koichi can't do that. So every time he sees Josuke, he would say, haha, bye. But actually, in the inside, he's like, help, help. That was really smart. But even so, when Josuke and Okuyasu still broke into Rohan's house, that scene was just so satisfying. And to make this episode even better, we have a backstory for why Josuke has such a flamboyant hairstyle, which I thought was a really nice addition. And to add on to the episode even more, basically a long time ago when Josuke had the fever, and Tomoko was trying to drive him to the nearest city, to the hospital, and then they were stuck in the snow. This person, this random stranger who has also the same hair as Josuke now, helped them push the car and saved Josuke basically. And there was actually a lot of theories saying that the person who saved Josuke was Josuke himself, who went back in time. Which I think is really cool, but Araki never really followed up on that because I guess he thought there was an even better way to go around this, I guess. And the original, the guy who pushed the car, the stranger, when he spoke, there were no voice. Like he had no voice. It was just words on the screen. Like we're watching some movie in the 1930s or 1930s, and it 1940s, and it just adds on to the mystery of his character. Episode 16, Let's Go Hunting, is another really straightforward but also weird and bizarre filler episode where Jotaro and Josuke spends the entire episode trying to hunt down two rats, two mice that basically got a stand because Red Hot Chili Pepper, the stand user, shot them with the stand arrow, and they somehow survived. And while this episode isn't the most entertaining episode of all times, I have to say the ending is quite suspenseful, and the fact that a rat with a sniper rifle somehow almost defeated Jotaro is kind of crazy. It's like rock, paper, scissors. Jotaro is super overpowered, and he can defeat Josuke, but Josuke can defeat the rat, and the rat can defeat Jotaro. So it's, you know. Anyways, episode 17, Rohan Kishibe's Bizarre Adventures. Another fantastic episode. And there is no stand battle. There is no fight on this episode. There are no stand enemies or anything. But the story of this episode and the way it sets up for a larger arc and the story is just absolutely genius in my opinion. So basically, of course, not a bad guy now, Rohan Kishibe and Koichi found an error on the map of Morio because between a convenience store and like a shop there was an alleyway which was not shown on the map. So Rohan and Koichi went to that alleyway and went to this really weird place where it's a bunch of abandoned houses, and if they try to escape, they can't. They keep looping back to the original place. They can't escape that alleyway anymore, which is really weird and mysterious. And then there's this girl, and apparently this girl is a ghost. This girl is Raimi, and he has a dog, and of course the dog is also dead, so the dog is also a ghost. And Raimi told Koichi and Rohan about a serial killer in Morio who had been killing people for 15 years. And not only does this add onto the weirdness of Morio, like, oh, there's something dark lurking behind the curtains, but also the way the story is told, it's just really beautiful. Like, this ghost is asking for people's help, and the way the episode ended when the ghost of Raimi told Koichi and Rohan how to leave the place, and apparently this place is the gateway between life and death, and that and in order to leave they have to walk back but never look back, because if they look back they die. That was extremely suspenseful. It kind of reminds me of that Bible reference where if you look back you turn into a pillar of salt. And of course the ending of the episode, the Yoshikage Kira reveal, is absolutely fantastic, and I'm super pumped to see more of Kira. Anyways, episodes 18 to 19 is Shigechi's Harvest. And basically, Josuke and Okuyasu, they found stands. These small, tiny stands, like hundreds and thousands of them, small stands who would steal little coins dropped on the streets. And apparently, this kid called Shigechi, this fat, dumb kid, this is his stand. And he would become very wealthy because his stand helps him collect all of these coins. Yeah, first of all, these two episodes aren't as good as I expected because I thought I would immediately see more of, Kira Yoshikage, but I guess not. But the ending is pretty cool because we all thought that, Shigechi is just a really dumb kid, and, Josuke and Okuyasu, they want money, so they try to trick the kid. Not really trick the kid, but sort of team up with the kid and gain money themselves, but the kid became really smart at the end and cheated his way and tried to take all the credit and get all the money. Cool ending. And then we have episode 20, Yukako Dreams of Cinderella. And yep, Yukako is back. And of course, Yukako turned into a good guy now, good person. And again, I like the fact that Yukako is recurring. I also think that this is a pretty decent filler episode. I don't want to call this a filler episode, but indeed it doesn't really have anything to do with, the whole Yoshikage Kira arc. But basically Yukako was still in love with Koichi, and she saw this makeup salon where this person, Ayatsuji, would provide you with makeup and make you more lovable and I guess make you more successful in dating someone. And so Yukako went to that makeup salon and it started to work. And one thing I really love about the episode is how accurately it portrays like high school romance. Like if this small kid gets the girl, but the guys like Josuke and Okuyasu still haven't gotten the girls, and they're like, I want to die. Like, it do be like that sometimes. Really nice romance overall as well, especially at the end when, Koichi was like, because, Yukako's face was removed, and Ayatsuji was like, okay, Yukako, you need to choose your own face. If you choose wrongly, then you will forever be ugly. And Yukako was like, Koichi, choose it for me. And Koichi was like, okay, if I choose it wrong, blind me. Hurt my eyes and blind me. And so Ayatsuji was like, at the end, she just gave Yukako her face back and just happily ever after. And that's really cool. I really want to see Yoshikage Kira, and I'm really excited for the rest of part 4. So yeah, so far, I would say this is a light 9. There are certainly a couple of not boring, but irrelevant moments, but still the stands are creative, and I also really love how Araki would comment on things like wealth, greed, love and romance, of taking care of kids and father-son bonding relationship, and it's really well explored in part 4. So I'm loving it, and I will watch the second half of part 4 very soon. Thanks for watching.